Dear students, hope you are safe and sound by the grace of Almighty. Due to COVID-19 pandemic all over the world, you are away from your classroom and this hampers your academic activities. We are trying to reach you virtually and help you to continue your study. Today I am here with you. This is Muhammad Mamun Sardar, Assistant Professor of English, Government BL College. We will have a discussion on the poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, written by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. This poem is included in the syllabus of honors second year. Samuel Taylor Coleridge is a famous English poet. He belongs to Romantic age and he was born on 21st October 1772 and died on 25th July 1834. Here we can see a picture of Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Coleridge was an English poet, literary critic, philosopher, and theologian. A theologian is an expert in theology. He, with his friend William Wordsworth, initiated the Romantic movement in English literature. He wrote some famous poems. Among them are The Rime of the Ancient Mariner and Kubla Khan. And he is also famous for his literary criticism, Biographia Literaria. Coleridge was born on 21st October 1772 in the town of Ottery, St. Mary in Devon, England. His father was Reverend John Coleridge. He was the headmaster of a school. During his childhood, Coleridge did not take pleasure in boyish sports. He used to read incessantly and played by himself. The boy was sent to Christ Hospital, a charity school, where he continued his study. In 1795, Coleridge met the poet William Wordsworth and his sister Dorothy. This meeting was really very important because Coleridge and Wordsworth, they discussed different topics and this helped to initiate the Romantic movement in English literature. Besides the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, Coleridge composed the symbolic poem Kubla Khan, and this poem was written as a result of an opium dream in a kind of breviary, and the first part of the narrative poem Christabel. In 1798, Coleridge and Wordsworth published a joint volume of poetry, Lyrical Ballads, which proved to be the starting point for the English Romantic age. And Lyrical Ballads contain 23 poems, 19 by Wordsworth and 4 by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Coleridge delivered a series of lectures in London and Bristol, and much of his reputation as a literary critic is founded on the lectures that he undertook in the winter of 1810 to 11. In April 1816, Coleridge, with his addiction worsening, his spirits depressed, and his family alienated, took residence in the Highgate homes, then just north of London. Coleridge died in Highgate, London on 25th July 1834 as a result of heart failure compounded by an unknown lung disorder, possibly linked to his use of opium. Coleridge is best known for his long poems, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner and Crucible. Even those who have never read the rhyme have come under its influence. The lines are very famous. He prayed best, who loved best, all things both great and small. For the dear God who loved us, he made and loved all. His poem Crucible is known for its musical rhythm, language, and its Gothic tale. Gothic tale, that means horror story. Kubla Khan, or A Vision in a Dream, a fragment, although shorter, is also widely known. Both Kubla Khan and Crucible have an additional romantic aura because they were never finished. Now we will discuss the poem The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Rime means story in verse. This poem tells the story of a mariner, of his sin, his punishment, and his redemption. At the very beginning of the story, we have a vivid description of the ancient mariner. The narrator of the story. He is a strange looking man, having grey beard, skinny hands, and glittering eyes. He has got hypnotic power in his eyes and can draw the attention of people using his eyes. Here we have a list of the characters we find in this poem. This poem has 7 parts. In the first part of the poem, we see that the ancient mariner stops one of the 3 marriage guests using his hypnotic eyes. The mariner starts telling a story about a disastrous journey he took. The wedding guest wants to attend the marriage ceremony, but the old mariner controls his willpower. The mariner had a strange power in his eyes, and with that power he could capture the attention of any person. The mariner begins his story. They left port and the ship sailed down near Antarctica. When they started their journey, the weather was fine. The journey was a prosperous one. But suddenly there was a terrible storm and the ship was driven by the storm to Antarctica. But then they get caught in a dangerous foggy ice field. There was no human being, no beast or bird. There was no sign of life. One day, suddenly an albatross appears and the albatross steers them through the fog and also provides good winds. Every day the albatross used to come to the ship to eat and play with the mariners. But one day the mariner whimsically kills the bird. Killing the bird was an unnatural action on the part of the old mariner. It was a sinful act, and this will bring suffering for the ancient mariner. In part 2, we see that the albatross is no more. After killing the albatross, the weather becomes clear and the ship moves. The other mariners praise the ancient mariner for killing the bird, for killing the innocent bird, and they also becomes a part of the crime committed by the ancient mariner. A person who supports sinful act also becomes a sinner. Very soon the sailors lose their wind and it gets really hot. They run out of water and everyone blames the mariner. The ship stood still like a painted ship. The mariners were hungry and thirsty. There was water everywhere, but they had not a drop to drink. They could not drink salty seawater. The ship seems to be haunted by bad spirit and weird stuff starts appearing like slimy creatures that walk on the ocean. In this situation, they saw many supernatural things and they were tortured by spirits. The mariners could not speak as their throats were dry at the root. The mariners become very angry. They blame the ancient mariner for their suffering, and the mariner's crewmates decide to hang the dead albatross around his neck to remind him of his error. In part 3, we see that time was very difficult for the mariners. Everyone is literally dying of thirst. The mariners sees another ship sail at a distance. He wants to yell out. He was very glad. But his mouth was dry, his tongue was dry, and he could not utter any sound. So he sucks some of his own blood to moisten his lips. Seeing the ship, the mariners become happy at first, but soon they become afraid, seeing the ghost ship and its crew. The phantom ship or ghost ship moved in a strange manner. It was coming in a zigzag way, which was really very unnatural. The ship is a ghost ship piloted by two spirits, death and life in death. Death and life in death were casting dice. Life in death wins the soul of the ancient mariner. It means that the ancient mariner will not die, but will undergo untold suffering. When the spectre ship leaves, 200 mariners die instantly. Their souls flew away from their bodies. At this stage of the poem, the wedding guest becomes restless. The wedding guest thinks that the mariner is a ghost, but the mariner says that he was the only one who didn't die. He continues his story. He was on a ship with a lot of dead bodies, surrounded by an ocean full of slimy things. These slimy things are nasty water snakes, but the mariner escapes his curse by unconsciously blessing the hideous snake, and the albatross drops off his neck into the ocean. After the death of the mariners, the suffering of the ancient mariner continued for 7 days and 7 nights. He suffers alone, but he could not die. At this stage, we find a change in the ancient mariner. The mariner could not show love to the beautiful albatross, but now he was able to show love to the ugly water snakes. This helped to remove his sin, and the albatross fell from his neck. That means the ancient mariner is redeemed of his sin. In part 5, we see that the mariner falls into a sweet sleep, and it finally rains when he wakes up. Sleep is a source of great comfort to human beings. It comes from heaven. After killing the albatross, the ancient mariner could not sleep peacefully because he was a sinner. Now he is redeemed of his sin, and he enjoys a sound sleep. And when he wakes up, a storm strikes up in the distance, and all the dead sailors lie like zombies to pilot the ship. The sailors don't actually come back to life. Instead, angels fill their bodies. And another supernatural spirit under the ocean seems to push the boat. The mariner faints and hears two voices talking about how he killed the albatross, and still has more penance to do. These two mysterious voices explain how the ship is moving. In part 6, we see that the journey of the ancient mariner continues. The ship was being moved supernaturally by the spirits. After a speedy journey, the ship ends up back in port again. That means the ancient mariner comes back to his own country. The mariner sees angels standing next to bodies of all his crewmates. At this stage, the ancient mariner was really very glad. He realized that he has come back to his own country. Then a rescue boat shows up to take him back to shore. The mariner is happy that a guy called the hermit is a holy person, is on the rescue boat. The hermit will absolve him of his sin. All of a sudden, there is a loud noise, and the mariner's ship sinks. The hermit's boat picks up the mariner. In this way, we see that the ancient mariner is saved, and he is able to come back to his own country. In the last part, we see that the ancient mariner, with the help of the hermit and pilot's boy, was able to get on the shore. The mariner is desperate to tell his story to the hermit. He felt an urge inside to tell the story. He feels a terrible pain until the story had been told. In fact, the mariner says that he still has the same painful need to tell his story, which is why he stopped the wedding guest on this occasion. The mariner feels an desire to tell the story, and when he tells the story to someone, he finds mental relief. Wrapping up, the mariner tells the wedding guest that he needs to learn how to say his prayers and love others, people, and things. Then the mariner leaves, and the wedding guest no longer wants to enter the wedding. He goes home and wakes up the next day a sadder and wiser man. These are the major themes of this poem: crime and punishment. The ancient mariner committed crime by killing the innocent albatross. Crime brings punishment, sin begets punishment. The ancient mariner suffers tremendously for many days, and after suffering comes redemption. The soul of the ancient mariner was also relieved. He was relieved by showing love to the ugly water snakes. Another theme is penance and forgiveness. If someone commits crime, does something against the law of nature or God, he must repent, he must beg forgiveness, pardon to God, and God will forgive him and will relieve him of his sin. And we also find divine intervention. The albatross was an innocent bird. When it was killed without any cause by the ancient mariner, God came forward. The supernatural spirits came forward to punish the sinner, the ancient mariner. And in this way, a harmony between humanity and nature was created. The ancient mariner realizes that showing love to God and his creature is really very important, and he is teaching this lesson to people. The Rime of the Ancient Mariner is the first poem in lyrical ballads, and the narrator and the protagonist is the ancient mariner. And this poem is full of imagination, fantasy and supernatural elements, and Coleridge has presented the supernatural elements naturally with his great skill and makes everything believable to us. The poem is an allegory of sin, punishment and redemption. The story appeals to everyone regardless of culture, race, sex and time, since we all make mistake. We all make mistake, we suffer, and we are relieved of our sin, of our mistakes. The poem is a tale of retribution. Coleridge depicts tactfully how nature punishes supernaturally for killing its innocent member. We should try to show love and sympathy for all the creatures of God. The spiritual world avenges the albatross's death on the mariner and shipmates. The poem is a religious allegory. The ancient mariner fails to respect God's rules and so suffers from curse, which is similar to the religious stories of Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve violated God's command. They were expelled from heaven and they had to undergo tremendous suffering, and ultimately they were relieved by God. At the end, he is kept alive to pass words of God's greatness on to others. The ancient mariner himself learned important lesson, and now he is teaching that lesson to other people and inspiring people to show love and sympathy to the creatures of God. This is all for today. Before leaving, I would like to request all of you to stay at your home, follow the rules of health, so that you can save yourself, your family, and your community from COVID pandemic. Thank you very much.